Hello guys, FurballTheHammy, your friendly neighborhood hamster, is back again for another Hypixel Skyblock video. Today's video will differ a bit from the norm as it's about me covering the history of Slayers from its release to the present day and what effects it had on Slayers. However, before we begin, be sure to smash the subscribe button down below because we are nearing 20,000 subscribers, and at 20,000 subscribers, I will be doing 200 Flvff dungeons. So be sure to subscribe if you want to see me die of carpal tunnel syndrome. And with that, let's begin with the video. Slayers was my favorite update, playing second fiddle to my now most favorite Dungeons update. Slayers was released on the 10th of October 2019, featuring 3 bosses known as the Revenant Horror, Tarantula Broodfather, and Savant Packmaster. Back in the time of release, people had plenty of trouble with these bosses due to the lack of knowledge and proper gear in dealing with them. We had people making use of environments to fight Slayer bosses, such as spawning bosses in lava in the deep caverns to limit its movements, or abusing Savant's AI to sit on a vine to get free hits on it without being attacked. Savant's AI was fixed on the 15th of October 2019, where it had an ultimate grab attack like the Revenant Horror if it didn't move for a while. It targeted players who used vines to abuse its AI. Slayers was however also filled with many flaws, and people hated it due to the sheer grind required, especially with the fact that tier 4s only used to give 400 Slayer XP instead of the 500 Slayer XP today, as well as the Maddox bat phone having a horrible 5-minute cooldown. Both of these issues were corrected on the 14th of October 2019, and this brings me to the Spooky update, which had a significant impact on Slayers. The Spooky update landed on the 24th of October 2019, bringing in the first pet in Skyblock known as a Skeleton Horse and a few more talismans to boot, but most notably, the Magic Find Potion. This made a noticeable impact on Slayers, as Slayer drops even to today are extremely rare, ranging from the regular 20% to the ungodly 0.03%. This addition of Magic Find sparked the interest in Slayers, and with the prior updates on the 14th and 15th of October that refined it, Slayers started to see a rise in popularity, making its way onto many guild requirements that we still see today. The next update that indirectly affected Slayers was the Winter update on the 18th of December 2019, where it added presents, a new island, and events as well as a fishing update. However, what mostly affected Slayers from this event were the addition of Combat XP potions, which gave the user a 15% bonus in Combat XP gain, which also meant faster Slayer bosses. However, the golden age of Slayers, or what I would call the point in time where Slayers were at its peak in interest and popularity, has yet to come. This update that triggered the golden age of Slayers landed on the 22nd of February 2020, known as the Pets Update and the Quality of Life Changes. This update brought in many new pets, namely the most influential one still used today in Slayers, known as the Wolf Pet. Boasting a 30% boost in Combat XP gain, it was even more impactful than the Combat XP potion we got during the Winter update, and soon enough it was a fan favorite for Slayers. However, what truly took Slayers over the top and popularized it was the ability to sell 20% drops such as foul flesh, hamster whales, and toxic arrow poisons, as well as the fly swatter. In fact, prior to this update, toxic arrow poisons and foul flesh were basically absolutely useless. However, this update brought profitability to Slayers and pushed Slayer profits even further, along with shortening the time taken to do bosses, and it was truly the golden age of Slayers. The decline of Slayers. The golden age of Slayers didn't last very long though, as it was shattered badly by the Bazaar update on March 9, or what I would call the first death of Slayers. Prior to this update, Slayers was extremely profitable. In fact, due to Tarantula armor being hands down the best armor set in the game, or one of the best value sets in the game, as it was not only used for spiders, it was also used for dragons, and even to pair with strong dragon armor for early late game players and mid game players. In fact, back then, those who knew how to profit from Slayers made hundreds of millions of coins. And how do I know this? Because I was part of this industry back then. Back then, Enchanted Flint, Enchanted Gold, and Enchanted Iron were not acquired from minions. In fact, they were acquired by clicking NPCs, as they could sell you infinite amounts of drops. Essentially, back then, a Slayer grinder like me could pay early and mid-game players money to sit at an NPC and click enchanted drops and pay them the base price of the drops and an additional 20,000 coins per enchanted stack. Us Slayer grinders could then use the base drops and the enchanted materials to craft it into Slayer armors and weapons to sell. Pooch swords used to sell for an easy 11 mil, tarantula helmets used to sell for 1 mil, chestplate sold for 2 mil, leggings sold for 1.7 mil, and boots sold for 2 to 4 million coins. These were all extremely profitable and made it even so that without any RNG drops or even any 20% item drops, Slayers were already profitable in contrast to today where you need RNG drops to profit. March 9 was truly a sad day because the Bazaar update limited the amount of materials you could buy from NPCs, and it basically destroyed the profitability of Slayers because the above method could not be used anymore. In fact, I did that for a solid 2 months that I have netted more than 300 million coins in profits back then, and was how I got rich even before I got contraband with YouTube. And this is what I would say to be the first nail in the coffin for Slayers: the rise again. However, shortly afterwards, on the 5th of May 2020, Pets V2 landed, introducing the Black Cat and Pet Scorp, bringing in additional Magic Find to the system. Shortly afterwards, people started to realize that with the advent of more Magic Find, it made RNG drops even more consistent and more predictable. And with some math and calculators, I found out that Slayers were still profitable, although its profits were largely slashed prior to March 9. On a side note, Slayer pets were also released at this time, namely the Hound, Ghoul, and Tarantula pet, which also helped to revitalize Slayers. However, I also believe that Slayers rose again after Pets V2 due to a few YouTubers such as Refraction and Arkansas, which brought up the topics of Slayers on their channels, with Arkansas getting combat 50 from Revenants, and with Refraction grinding Revenants until he had all pets at level 100. I probably also played a smaller role in pushing Slayers forward by presenting Slayer marathons and using it to prove that profits could be earned from Slayers even after the Bazaar update. This was the turnaround for Slayers, and it once again found renewed hope. 7th of June 2020 was when Slayers received a quality of life update change, bringing in Slayer sacks, storing in all of the token drops you got from Slayers without having to bring a goddamn 20 backpacks every single Slayer run. And next, the decline of Slayers again. However, this turnaround did not last very long. In fact, Slayers V2 was promised to come before Dungeons, but on the 7th of July 2020, Dungeons came out and the future of Slayers V2 came under question. However, the second nail of the coffin Slayers took was during the announcements from admins about the cancellation or the delay of Slayers V2. Whether it was a cancellation or a delay is still left to be elusive today. However, the video made by Hellcastle and Furry E-Boy announcing the cancellation of Slayers was the second nail in the coffin, ultimately placing the future of Slayers into question and whether it will be made obsolete. In fact, even I, the Slayer YouTuber, questioned the future of Slayers at this point in time. Lastly, whether this was the third nail in the coffin or the rise of Slayers again will be up to your own interpretation. But on 8th September 2020, Hypixel started undergoing the monetization update that enabled it to earn even more money from players to support the future development of Skyblock. It also added in new additions of the Booster Cookie, which granted 15 Magic Find and another 20% EXP boost, which was another indirect buff to Slayers once again. And people did start to do more Slayers. In fact, so many more players did Slayers again that Wolf Teeth dropped from a mere 5 coins from the original 80 to 120 coins per Wolf Teeth it once was. However, while Slayers did seem to gain a new rise in this update, its profits were indirectly slashed once again, as for some reason it became somewhat popular once again. However, from my point of view, I view this as the third and final nail in the coffin for Slayers for now. Keyword being for now. Because the profits were slashed to the point where tier 4s were no longer profitable and leaving only tier 3s profitable mathematically speaking. But even then, the drops in prices for all Slayer drops were not exactly helpful to tier 3s and slashed tier 3 profits even further. However, if you are doing tier 3s to level up your Slayers and get money on the side, it still isn't a bad choice to do tier 3s. However, if you want to just do Slayers for money, I recommend looking somewhere else, as even farming with an elephant pet gives more profits, generic zealot grinding, and of course bazaar flipping does better as well. However, if you genuinely still enjoy Slayers, don't let me stop you, keep doing it if you really enjoy it. I mean, after all, we play games for fun. However, Slayers may see a rise again in the future with new devs being hired, and should one take an interest in Slayers, we may be able to see Slayers V2 once again in the distant future. And that's really about it. This was the rich history and progression of Slayers over just 11 months. And with that, be sure to like the video if you enjoyed. It took me quite a while to research these things, and a Slayer boss a day keeps the slash G-Kit command away. So be sure to do your daily Slayer bosses. And with that, this is FurballTheHammy, your Slayer maniac, signing out.